What is up, my Namics? Chris here from Porunga's Palace, aka DJ Sketch, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful middle of your week. It's Wednesday, and as you know, every Wednesday and Sunday I do a podcast just covering how my week has been in Dragon Ball. And, with sanctioned events being kind of, postponed until further notice, I haven't done much in Dragon Ball as far as like actually playing, but I have been watching like a lot of streams and keeping an eye on the Facebook page as far as what's been going on over there, and a lot of watching a lot of YouTube videos that a lot of content creators have been putting out there. Joey's been consistently uploading, as well as 3xG, uh, $5 lunch, $5 lunch. They've been putting stuff out there as well. Mark Hill at DVS Dex has been doing a nightly podcast, going over certain stuff, and he's been keeping it kind of small format. I think he only wants to do like an hour a night and such. So, a lot of contents out there, a lot of content creators out there still pushing out content for his game while we're all just, sitting at home, having to do social distancing. And you got to commend them for what they're doing. I myself am providing content, not really consistently, but, I guess doing something twice a week, especially, providing it on two different formats, from the audio format to uploading the video footage of that audio format that I record alongside with it to YouTube. It's something. And, mine's like, my content's not like the best. I've never claimed it to be the best by any means. It's just from an average Joe person playing the card game. But the problem is that I haven't been able to play because, there's been no local events. I wish I could actually do the PPG online events that they're having, but I just don't have the time for it. So that's really the reason why, is that, I got a full plate as it is, with working full time, as well as trying to keep a consistent schedule of doing this podcast. Because I would like to see this podcast go somewhere, but it's also just like a passion project for me. Like, I just enjoy doing it. So it's really been helping me through this time of having to social distance. This is something I can just do from home and, send it out there to the world. And, it's great. I love it. And I just enjoy doing this. But, that's really been it on like my local front as far as Dragon Ball Super stuff. Until LGSs here can open up to do tournaments, there's not much I can provide to you as far as how well I've done, this week in Dragon Ball, because there's no events that I can do. But with that being said, I did want to go over some of because there was a championship event over the weekend, and I covered briefly last week Andrew Duvall's build on that, and what he had, what he played, and it was Surge Coup. But I also want to go over some of the other decks, because there's some other really good decks and pilots that played them in that event. So we're going to kick it on over to that. Make sure I get the right scene here. There's the recording, and here's the event page. Like I said, we went over Andrew Duvall's build. He played Surge Coup, and it was 3-color Surge Coup. A lot of spice in this deck. You had the new 3-drop Goku from Dropbox 5. He's also playing Smoke Dragon SCR, which is, it's just an all-around great SCR that can be played in pretty much anything. And why it's the cheapest one right now, I couldn't tell you. But, it's one of the best ones out there, in my opinion. I also like this edition, the Abuni. Abuni is a solid blue card from the draft box. And honestly, if you can find this guy, because I think he was like trending at like $24 to $25 right now as far as price wise. Of course, I haven't checked today. This was as of a couple days ago. But if you can pick him up for super cheap right now, I'd highly recommend doing that, because I'm pretty sure this card's only going to go up once we get actual sanctioned events going. So really great deck from Andrew Duvall here. The second place was also a Surge Coup from Jonathan Rodriguez, and he was playing a different variant. None of the more. It seems like Andrew Duvall had the more control essence, along with it seems more mid range. This one utilizes Bardock's and some of the new Angel cards and the Bergamos, and he also is running the Cell SCR. Now, the only problem I can find with this, honestly, is this bad boy right here. Excuse me, the Cell SCR. That's gotta be a pretty difficult accomplishment to do as far as getting it out there on the field, just with what is provided for you in this deck profile. Not to say it's not possible, it just seems like it just seems like a stretch to do, in my opinion. But I do like the addition of the Bergamo. This 5-drop Bergamo is just a monster card. As well as I love this chilled card. It's just like a free play 25k double striker, essentially. And it's a monster of a card. Works great in this deck, in my opinion. But nonetheless, this is a solid deck as well. I think Andrew Duvall's build is a little more solid as far as it being more mid-range eccentric. Just seems like, there's a reason why I took first, right? So it's obviously the better of the two. But not to downplay Jonathan Rodriguez deck by any means. It's still a good deck. And with the right pilot around this could easily top and take an event. Then we have Daniel Buchanan running Surge Brawley. I really love this leader, by the way. Solid leader, in my opinion. And this deck just does, it runs a scrambling SCR. Great for this deck. The Napa super combo just makes this deck a monster of a deck in itself. And I love the addition of this 4-drop Vegito. It's definitely spicy, in my opinion. And he's also running the Angel cards from the draft box. Just a solid deck. And Surge Brawley, and I love the addition. Not to get off on the tangent, Surge Brawley is a great leader in his own right. Though I do think Surge Goku and Surge Piccolo just slightly better, but he's definitely one of the, hit the mic there, the mic stand. But he's definitely one of the better Surge leaders out there. I would put him in the same tier as them, at least. I also like the addition here in the sideboard of the 3-drop Goku from the draft box, as well as he's running the counterplay red as well, the one that gives plus 100k. Just a solid. That's a solid counterplay for red right now, and it's what red needed coming out of Draft Box 5. Solid deck right here, nonetheless. Just like I said, I think Surge Goku and Surge Piccolo just kind of outclass it slightly. Moving on to Marcel Russel here, playing the Spice here, the Demigra deck. Aggro Demigra. And, it's Marcel Russel. And he's just a fantastic deck builder and a fantastic pilot. And he also runs like some spicy stuff, in my opinion. And honestly, I guess it shouldn't surprise me that he would play Demigra over Bibbidi. But I could also see him playing Bibbidi as a mono black aggro deck. I do love how he's only running one of the Bibbidi super combos, and the rest are the Master Roshi ones. I think that's a great split for this deck. And honestly, I love how he's utilizing the Kid Goku package with the Dragon Balls. This is just a solid a black aggro deck by far. It almost, just looking at this, it could outclass Bibbidi. Honestly, it could. I need to go back and look at the gameplay of this of a match for this and see how well it runs, because I haven't personally seen it run, but it's a contender out there, to say the least. He's also running the new Analyza card from the draft box. And you notice he doesn't even have an SCR in the main board, but he does run the Demigra in the sideboard. But in the mono black decks, the SCRs aren't essentially needed. And Bibbidi, in the version of Bibbidi that I've ran before, it ran the Dragon Ball SCR, but it was by far never really needed. Most of the time, I just discarded it in that deck. So, in these mono black decks, an SCR is not absolutely 100% needed. It's kind of just icing on the cake, in my opinion. And then you have 5th place here, going to Samuel Martinez, running Hachiak. Need to say more about Hachiak. I mean, it's just kind of that stall deck out there that, it stalls the opponent out, keeps him from playing, and, you kind of take advantage of that. I do like the one box stopper in this deck, the box stopper from the set 9. That's kind of a little spicy in my opinion. But Hachiak does what it does. I've never been a big fan of it, and personally, but I see the appeal for people to run it because it's like an all-around, pretty much helmet deck that anyone can play. But that being said, the pilot has to be somewhat knowledgeable and decent at the game, so it doesn't just outright win if it doesn't have a great pilot behind it. But still a solid deck, and honestly not a bad choice to play in a tournament by any means. And then we go to Eric Thompson playing the aggro boy himself, Son Gohan. I love this deck, and I love that this version's a green-red version, which, you get a lot of utilization there. He's using the new Ribrianne card from the draft box. Also the Paragus super combo, it looks like. Did he do a split on those? It looks like he did a split of the Paragus along with the Brawley. Spicy. I like it. I like it a lot. He's also got this Goku Arrival as well. Oh, running the spice there with that Android 18 as well. This deck is usually a variation of this deck is just a monster. This deck can just, when it goes off, and it's, why it's topped events. And, just from looking at this deck, like, it's kind of budget oriented, let's be honest. Like, maybe, like, minus, like, the Ribrians, because they're new, and this card's just, a great card coming out of the draft box. It's probably the most expensive thing here, minus maybe Topo, but I'm pretty sure its price has gone over Topo's. And plus, we're going to be getting reprints of Topo's, so those prices on those will drop as well. And I believe the Paragus Super Combo used to be up there. I haven't checked the price on it recently, but it might be up there in price as well. And these Napa Super Combos, I don't know if they're quite up there. They might have spiked by now, but at one point I don't think they were that high up there. But don't quote me on that. I don't keep a watchful eye on the card prices. Every now and then I take a look at them. I should probably do more as far as keeping an eye on them if I'm going to report on them, but it is what it is. Take it for what you will. But this deck is really solid, and I'm surprised it didn't take the whole thing, honestly. But not aggro decks don't always take the top spot. And then we got 7th place with Roberto Cancheras. I hope I'm not butchering that. Which he also ran Gohan. Doesn't look like a green-red version. It almost feels mono-green-ish. It's like basically mono-green with some black splashed in there. And you got 2 further instructor Champas to give an extra, double strike, probably on this Mira when it's needed. I love that. I love this card in it. This Cell Kamehameha is just superb. And you can run, this check line because it counts as green and it activates on this as well. So Feet Kamehameha is like a must in any version of this deck. All around solid deck. Again, it does what it needs to do, and it's like I think it does. I think it does get over Bibbidi as far as an aggro deck, because I feel like it's more bursty and it can go off quicker than Bibbidi personally. Bibbidi just has the great thing of being able to do multiple a lot of swings in one turn, and that's really weathering on an opponent when his hand side, unless he's drawing a bunch of cards, which a lot of people aren't using draw super combos right now. It's real hindering, but with Gohan aggro centric decks, like it's just like so much in like one swoop. Like you just feel like you started the game and it's like it's already over sometimes when you play this against this deck. Solid deck as well. And then you have Gabriel Aguilar coming in with a Surge Coup variant as well, which this one almost feels like it combines Andrew Duvall's and the second place is kind of in one, because he's running a lot of cards from Andrew Duvall's list as well as a lot from the second place persons, but he's also running the Cell SCR, which, looking from this, he seems like he would have an easier time getting this out, but it still feels like a stretch. But I do love, like I said, I love the addition here of the Bergamos in these decks, because the Bergamo is just a solid card. Exploiting weakness, because the exploiting weakness and the new 3-drop Red Sun Goku from the set, they're kind of like the same card, but different. One minuses and one just straight up KOs the opponent's field. And it's hard to say which one would be better. I think the exploiting weakness is probably just slightly better because it minuses cards. So I think that card will always have a price over the Gokus. So the Gokus might, in essence, be a budget version of the exploiting weakness. But that being said, the Son Gokus are still going to be pricey just because they come from the draft box. So, you can kind of pick and choose which one you prefer. Just the exploiting weakness, in my opinion, just seems slightly better, but I still love the new 3-drop Goku coming out of the draft box. And that was from the championship over the weekend. Shout outs to Pro Play Games for providing us this this tournament, in this time of having to do social distancing and self-isolation. This is a great way for people of the community to still be able to play Dragon Ball. I wish I could partake in this and show my skills, though I don't think I would do very well, but it's hard to say. Never done it. So, but regardless, I love how this is being provided to the community. And looks like they have some upcoming events. April 4th and 5th. They're doing more. So go check out ppgeventsmanagement.com and you can find out all the information. And they also, if I'm not mistaken, they do, yes, on the main pages here, it provides you their Discord link, which you'll need to do these tournaments, as well as what's Octagon and how to set it up. And you can do this on Chromebook with Untapped, I believe, and it also has links to tutorials and how to do it on the Mac users. So this is just great all around. Again, go to ppgeventmanagement.com, and you can see what you have to do to sign up for these events, as well as setting up the online platforms for this. It's just great to see this coming out of the community. Switch over the scene here, back to the main podcast screen over here on the video feed. So yeah, those were the deck profiles for the weekend, or for last weekend's event. And like, all solid decks out there, all great contenders. I believe it was a 40-person event, which really isn't bad for like a first go at doing an online event. Hands down, not a bad turnout at all. There's probably a lot of, I would have to say, like, barriers for that. And what I mean by barriers is like people might not just have like a computer that they use every day. I know a lot of people just have like either tablets or they use their phone for like all their like internet consumption. And a lot of people just may not have a computer to do this on. So that could be like a main thing why there wasn't more. But still, 40 people is a solid number for a first-time event. And just seeing how well it's done, it's only going to garner growth. And especially since they've extended, how long they want people to be like quarantined and doing social distancing and all that. And they've only extended that time from, I believe the middle of April. I believe they've extended it out to like May now in some places, where schools aren't going to be returning until then. So, this is just going to garner more traction, and it's going to get bigger, and you're going to have more people participating. And I'm honestly surprised not to say that none of those players were big names, but I'm surprised, we didn't see, maybe the Hill twins on that, or, Ryan Severin or Justin Rios. We had Marcel Russel. I believe Andrew Duvall's done well, because I've heard his name multiple times outside of this online circuit. But the other names, I hadn't recognized any of the other names. But that's not to say they've never topped events or done well at other events by any means. I just haven't heard of them, and that's not knocking them by any means. They're probably hands down better players than I am, because it doesn't take much to do that. I'm not saying I don't say I'm a terrible player, but I'm by far no stretch of the word the best player, even in my local area. I'm just a decent player, average Joe, and, giving my take on the game from a local's perspective and my hot take on what's going on in the Dragon Ball Super community. And that's what this podcast is for, is all that. But, I think we're going to end the cast there. I want to thank everyone that has listened to this podcast as well as viewed it on YouTube. It's great just to have any listeners and any viewers of this podcast. And I do this for a passion. It's just a passion project for me. And if it garners traction, great. If it doesn't, I'll still be doing it. But be sure you check out my Twitter. I have my own personal Twitter at DJSketch04, as well as Twitter for the podcast at Porunga P. You can check me out on Instagram. I don't post very much on there, but I'm in the works of doing that, and it's going to be centered around the podcast, and that's at DJSketch04 on Instagram. And for the audio folks, be sure you check out my YouTube pages. YouTube, for my personal YouTube, DJ Sketch04 on YouTube, and check out the podcast YouTube for the video coverage of the podcast at Porunga's Palace on YouTube. And for the people on YouTube that would like to listen to the audio formats, make sure you check me out at anchor.fm. Links for all that I have mentioned will be in the descriptions of both the audio version of the podcast as well as the video version of the podcast. So you guys have a good rest of your week. We'll see you on Sunday, which I'll be doing another podcast then. Finding stuff to cover. I'll be going through the rest of the week, finding stuff to cover and, just giving my hot take on stuff. But you guys have a good rest of your week, and we will see you then. Take care.